What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
Welcome to our show today. It is Friday, May 21st, 2021. Thank goodness it's Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. And we have a lot to talk about today. It's been kind of a roller coaster of a day. And so we're going to do news until we run out of news, and then we're going to open up the phone lines for your comments, questions, opinions, and observations. Mike is in our control room, twiddling the dials and keeping us out of trouble. So let's get right on into it. Well, the ceasefire in Israel and Gaza did not last very long. Just hours after the announcement of the ceasefire, Israeli police attacked Palestinians at the Al-Aqsa Mosque who were celebrating the ceasefire, and they went after them with tear gas and stun grenades and just caused a huge ruckus. And that didn't take very long, and you have to wonder what's the government of Israel thinking, because this is just going to start things back up again. And, Netanyahu is probably still thinking that this is going to lengthen his period as prime minister. There's already pushback on that. We'll be talking about that a little bit later in the show. Now, earlier in the week, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris held a press conference, and apparently Joe got a little upset and pounded on the desk there. But the interesting thing is only 799 people tuned in to watch, supposedly a president who got 81 million votes. Meanwhile, over in Chicago, Mayor Lightfoot is defending her racist interview policy, saying, as a woman of color, as a lesbian, it's important to me that diversity is put front and center. And the longer she's in office, diverse it gets. Okay. Now, story coming on out of CNN, no less, talking about the Supreme Court and how the facade of camaraderie seems to be failing right now. And there seems to be more and more infighting going on, sort of matching what's going on in the political environment in general. And we know, going on back to when they were throwing out those cases regarding voter fraud, there were reports from inside the Supreme Court building of shouting matches among the justices over whether they should look at the evidence or not. So apparently it's gotten very, very rancorous. Over in Arizona, a lot is going on over in Arizona. The Arizona Senate Majority Whip Sonny Borrelli is calling the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors disrespectful. They certainly are. They're defying the Senate's subpoenas. And the Democrats and their accomplices are very worried about the presidential election in Arizona, but it extends beyond that because it may turn out that the vote for the senators may be in doubt as well. So, election fraud isn't confined just to the presidential election only. Story coming on out of your destination now, say that 3 times fast. Hillary's attorney, Mark Elias, and her campaign manager, John Podesta, and Biden's chief of staff, Ron Klain, are all connected to the Democratic efforts to stop the Maricopa audit. And so it really is, the machine is showing itself. Now, the Arizona Secretary of State, Hobbs, is saying the election machines in the audit should never be used again. Now, Hobbs is basically taking the position that while those machines are in the possession of those gosh darn Republican auditors, they're being rigged so that the future elections will be fraudulent and they should be replaced. But in actuality, it's a good idea. No election machine should ever be used again because that is where a majority of the fraud is taking place. Over in Pennsylvania, we reported on this earlier in the week. They had a primary earlier in the week, and over in Fayette County, it was noticed that Republican ballots were being refused by the scanning machines. and mostly Republican ballots. And already the Pennsylvania election officials are saying, oh, it's a coding error with the Dominion voting machines. And that was it. Was an honest mistake, really, that only affected Republican ballots here. Over in Wisconsin, they have discovered a huge fraud. Over 200,000 illegal ballots in just 2 counties in a race that was decided by only 20,000 votes. So, down in Georgia, a judge down there has now ordered all those ballots to be unsealed and re-examined because of the fraud being discovered down there. Yet another video has emerged of the Capitol Police inviting the protesters inside the Capitol building. They're moving the barricades aside, standing by as the protesters walked in. This was a setup from day one. And everybody now knows it. The Democrats were out there. We want a 9/11 inquiry into what happened on January 6th. This may blow up in their faces, and they are so desperate right now. They're talking about having this investigation a Democratic-only panel. They don't want any Republicans on there at all. Because sooner or later somebody is going to start showing these videos of the police telling the protesters it's okay to come into the Capitol building. All right. Now, we've been talking about this new federal government domestic extremism committee, which is being applied initially to the military, eventually probably to the entire population. And it turns out that it's being run by the Anti-Defamation League and the Southern Poverty Law Center, ultra left-wing Zionist organizations. And so we know what extremism is going to mean in their eyes. Excuse me. It's a bad pollen day here in Indiana. So the Pentagon is partnering with the Anti-Defamation League and the Southern Poverty Law Center to spy on military members for extremism. They want liberals only in the military, and that is making them the laughingstock of the entire world right now. As we said at the top of the show, this Israeli-Palestinian ceasefire did not last very long. Both Israel and Hamas have claimed victory at the ceasefire, and somebody didn't like that and basically ordered the Israeli authorities to attack the worshipers at Al-Aqsa Mosque. All they were doing was celebrating the ceasefire. And so it looks like that's back on. And that's a very unfortunate development. I was hoping we were going to have a little bit of good news here. Joe Biden is now facing another ugly reality. North Korea is not going to give up their nuclear weapons. And basically, North Korea has announced that they've switched on key parts of their nuclear fuel production plant in Yongbyon. This is the complex where the country's nuclear weapons program was born. Hang on a second. Hang on a second. Okay, Claire, I'll have to help you next commercial break. All righty. Yeah, Claire's machine is ill, and I was in the process of trying to repair it when the show started. So North Korea is resuming nuclear fuel production, and they've got nuclear weapons. There's no reason for them to give them up because it makes them safe from invasion. Now, yesterday I was talking about all this stuff we're starting to see all over the independent media and even the corporate media about UFOs, and they're serious, they're really out there. And I said it smells like a psychological operation to me, and I'm apparently not the only one to think so. There's a story coming out of UNS.com titled, "The Pentagon is Behind the Fake Alien Agenda." And they're talking about how last Sunday, 60 Minutes ran a report about UFOs. And Bill Whitaker interviewed several people from the military to discuss the allegation put forward by the Pentagon that there are ultra-advanced aircraft flying around the Earth for unknown reasons. And again, these are the same people who insisted Saddam had nuclear weapons. So let's talk about COVID-19 now. There has been an explosion of 3,500 new COVID variants in India following their mass vaccination campaign. And apparently the government of India and Pfizer are fighting back and forth over vaccine indemnity issues. Now, under U.S. law, the vaccine companies are indemnified from being sued for the harm they cause. That is not true for much of the rest of the world, including India. Something that has emerged rather ugly over there, there is this fatal fungal infection. They're calling it the black fungus, and it's spreading among current and recovered coronavirus patients in India due to the intensive medical intervention. So this is black fungus or mucormycosis, and it's attacking people with weakened immune systems. Now, interestingly enough, India has started to distribute ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine, and their cases of COVID-19 are now plummeting. So we know that those will actually cure the illness. But again, cures are a poor business model, according to Goldman Sachs. The business model is constant treatment, constant selling of medicines, even to people who don't really need them. Story coming on out from Station Gossip. We know COVID-19 was created in a laboratory. New revelations from inside China indicate actual location of its military origin. Now, I have a theory that I've been working on for a little while, and it's tangled up with the revelation that the Wuhan virology lab was doing work on behalf of the United States government, that they had gotten the original core virus from, I think it was the University of South Carolina. By the way, Cynthia McKinney has a new book out, When China Sneezed, and she's going to be on our show on the 25th, so you're going to want to tune in for that one. The Biden administration finally forced to admit COVID-19 leaked from the Wuhan lab as a certain possibility, and they're demanding transparency from China. That may not be a really good idea. So here's what I am thinking. I am thinking that, yes, indeed, COVID-19 was a biological weapon in development. And it got out of the lab. And the reason for the vaccine panic, besides all the money being made, is not because of what COVID-19 is right now, but knowledge of what it could potentially mutate into somewhere out there in nature, something far more deadly and devastating. And that would explain the knee-jerk reaction for forced vaccinations and masks and all the rest of it. Something, and the government can't explain that's what's going on here. We started to develop a biological weapon. It got away from us, and now we got to vaccinate you all to prevent it from coming back and attacking us. Meanwhile, Nancy Pelosi is out there suggesting that lawmakers who can't prove their vaccination status should be denied access to the House floor. So she's still out there pushing for masks and vaccines here. Meanwhile, more and more science journals are publishing peer-reviewed articles supporting the theory that the Pfizer COVID vaccine may cause deadly neurodegenerative disease. We've been talking about those spike proteins and prions, mad cow disease, and of course this stuff is going to take years to show up, which will give the vaccine makers deniability, but it's still a potential problem out there. Over in Utah, they have passed a bill banning mandatory masks in public schools and universities. Good for them, following along Texas' lead. Over in Pennsylvania, one of the things that they did accomplish in this recent election is they stripped the Democratic Governor Tom Wolf of his dictatorial powers as a response to his punishing restrictions during the COVID crisis that wrecked lives, ruined businesses, killed jobs, and the voters are now striking back at the ballot box. Excuse me. Rough day. We've been talking about some of the coercive means being used to get people to vaccinate. There was the vaccine lottery in Ohio, the strip club in Las Vegas that was going to be giving away free vaccines and a shot of booze at the same time. And now up in New York, they're going to be giving away free lottery tickets when you get vaccinated. So again, this is not science driven. This is definitely politically driven. And again, my thinking is that COVID-19 was a work in progress biological weapon, and the reaction to it in terms of vaccines and masks and social distancing was out of recognition of what it potentially could mutate into once it was in the wild, which it is right now. Getting to the international news, Biden took credit for the short-lived ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. He is promising to replenish the Iron Dome missiles Israel used to shoot down about half of the incoming Gaza rockets, which means, open up your wallets. It's going to be more taken out of there. Over in Iran, a little bit of good news. Iran's President Hassan Rouhani has announced that the United States has agreed to lift most of the major sanctions on Iran in order to get back to the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action nuclear deal. And they're finishing up the talks in Vienna. They're down to minor issues and details. But they're saying that could very well have a resumption of the deal within a week. Over in Russia, they have been doing simulated combats involving the Sukhoi 30 flanker, and they've determined that it can outfly both the F-22 and the F-15. So, serious competition in the skies over there. Let's talk about the economic news. I think it was just yesterday we mentioned all of the millionaires and billionaires who are leaving New York to move to Florida. And it's not just those millionaires and billionaires. There's a lot of people leaving New York City. And it's created a huge apartment vacancy problem. Right now, the apartment vacancy rate is up to 11.6%, which is very, very high for New York, which used to be considered a desirable place to live. And, of course, the landlords are now feeling the economic pinch as well. Speaking of New York, Google is going to open its first physical retail store in New York City, so customers can come in and touch and try the Google products before buying. I think it's a really good idea. Certainly it's going to be a showcase store. And, they're playing catch up with Apple, but that would be okay. The U.S. Treasury is now going to require any cryptocurrency transfers over $10,000 to be reported because of the concern that cryptocurrency is being used for tax evasion by the ordinary masses, because tax evasion is a right reserved to the millionaires and the billionaires. Getting into the immigration, Tennessee lawmakers are alarmed by reports that the White House is secretly flying migrant children into the state of Tennessee. And yes, I would be alarmed at that as well. Who's taking care of those kids once they get off the airplane? That's what I would like to know. I would really like to know that. And again, we have seen since the beginning of this whole open borders nonsense, as soon as the illegals come on in, they're scattered all across the country to make it much more difficult to round them up and ship them back when somebody decides that we've had enough of this nonsense and we need to go back to protecting our borders, which we hope will happen soon. Okay, we got to take a break for commercials. I got to go take care of Claire, and we'll be right back. And welcome back to our show here, and a friendly reminder that Republic Broadcasting Network needs your support to go on keeping the American people fully informed so that they can make good choices. And that's very important in this particular day and age. And once again, the postal address to send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity cash, is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can make a credit or debit card donation is 800-724-2719, extension 3. Now, if you will mail in a donation of $100, you will get your choice of an RBN coffee mug or an official RBN t-shirt, so include a return address and your t-shirt size. If you send in a donation of $115, you will get both promotional items, and don't forget the front side firearms deal. That's really a sweet, sweet deal for everybody interested in gun rights and gun proficiency. All righty, getting on to political correctness and woke. This one really kind of annoyed me. It's coming from over on InfoWars, and it's talking about how the PBS in New York City has been airing a children's show where drag queens in training learn to swish their hips. This is all being funded by taxpayers, of course. And so this show, which is called The Hips on the Drag Queen Go Swish, 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 stars a drag queen named Little Miss Hot Mess, who is teaching children ages 3 to 8 how to shake their butts. And apparently this Little Miss Hot Mess is a founding member of the Drag Queen Story Hour, and is the author of a book also titled The Hips on the Drag Queen Go Swish, Swish, Swish. That's a little out there, I think. And that sort of links into this next story coming out of WomenSystems.com. Woke U.S. school boards need parental supervision after the pandemic revealed children's education is being weaponized, according to an ex-Department of Education official. And this was a former Virginia school board member who came out yesterday saying that schools all across the country are weaponizing their curriculums to indoctrinate young children to turn them into liberal activists. Okay. Story coming on out of Your Destination Now. Laura Ingraham blasts a school district after it hires a psychiatrist to give anti-racism training to faculty, and says American schools are prepping to bring racial propaganda to every syllabus. And she's objecting to this idea that if you're white, you're de facto guilty of racism, and that's definitely not true. And again, racism in reverse is still racism. Okay. Story coming on out of Station Gossip. Transgender golfer who played on the men's college team is now competing against women, and not surprisingly wins the women's title and is now eyeing the LPGA. There's another story out there. We talked about this before. There's this transgender boxer, biological male, identifies as a woman and is boxing women, and has now fractured the skulls of 2 of his female opponents. And that's how far this country has declined. We have a man beating up a woman, putting her in the hospital twice now, and we're all supposed to be cheering for this. I think that's a little sick. It really is. Over in Texas, Governor Greg Abbott on Wednesday signed into law the fetal heartbeat abortion bill. And it basically bans abortion after about 6 weeks of pregnancy and grants citizens the right to sue doctors who perform abortions past that point. And the idea is if you can detect a fetal heartbeat, you cannot abort the child. I think it's a really, really good idea. We talked about this before. This is coming out of Cuz Blue. The 9 campuses of the University of California system will no longer consider standardized testing scores like the SAT or ACT as part of the admission process beginning this fall, all in the name of equity. And talk about the dumbing down of our society. They're completely disincentivizing excellence in academic achievement. And further eroding that, a story out of the BBC, they have uncovered in Great Britain this immense trade in fake college degrees. And they're apparently coming out from this diploma mill located in Pakistan. And some of the buyers of these phony degrees include national health system consultants, nurses, a large defense contractor, and so forth. One British buyer spent almost £500,000 on bogus documents. We're going to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back. Seems to be a lot of talk along those lines these days. It's a very, very depressing situation. Anyway, getting on to some of the science and nature news here. There have been a couple of major quakes in China. 7.4 was the big one, followed by an aftershock. Still waiting to get reports on injuries and damage out there. Meanwhile, in the High Sierra in Northern California, they're getting more snow. As we get on to the end of the month of May. So the snow advisory went into effect noon yesterday, and so they, again, gosh darn that human-caused global warming. Here in Indiana, some of our neighbors are saying they're starting to see the cicadas come out. We haven't seen them here at Holly Rivero yet. But when they do show up, I got the cameras all ready, and we'll take some pictures to put out there. But so far, it's not turning out to be the huge wave of insects that everybody was expecting. Little consumer news here. This is coming out of Cuz Blue. And it says almost all grains in the United States, and you know, people think eating grains is healthy, but apparently almost all grains in the United States have been found to be contaminated with glyphosate herbicide. And this glyphosate contamination is widespread. It has not been confined just to the Roundup Ready fields. It is spreading everywhere, and as you're already aware, glyphosate can lead to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Meanwhile, over in Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman has made an announcement that I think is kind of cool if he can pull it off. He wants to plant 10 billion, with a B, trees in the deserts of Saudi Arabia to try and reforest it, to try and cool the land down. And he's basically looking at China's greening of a third of its Kabuki Desert, and they're saying it worked really well, and Saudi Arabia is determined to make a lasting global impact. So, you know, good on them. China has released the first photos from their Mars rover Zhurong after it successfully landed on the red planet, and people were kind of wondering why it took them so long to get those photos out there, because of, you know, when Perseverance touched down, we were getting almost real-time data feeds. But Wednesday, China published 2 images taken by Zhurong, still propped on top of the lander. They haven't rolled it off onto the ground just yet. They say the rover is carrying out its preparations before leaving the landing platform and beginning its serious research. NASA is seriously looking at the moon's dark side for astronomy and new telescopes. Now, of course, the moon's dark side is no more dark than the near side, but the idea is, especially for radio telescopes, to shield them from all the electronic noise emanating from planet Earth. They're looking at a lunar crater radio telescope. They have funded about $500,000 for further concept studies as to whether it could be done. If you think about Arecibo or the FAST telescope, they want to basically recreate that engineering on the moon, which in the 1/6 gravity is probably going to make things a little bit easier. Meanwhile, NASA is getting ready to launch a mobile lunar rover called Viper, which stands for Volatiles Investigating Polar Exploration Rover. They're going to launch it in 2023. And this will be the first mobile rover that NASA has put on the moon. Now, the Russians, of course, had a rover there, the Lunokhod 3, that was able to trundle along the lunar surface. But Viper is going to be there looking for resources in the permanently shadowed craters near the polar system, or the polar lunar poles rather, where they might find frozen water that could be used to help sustain a permanent colony. Right. Nearly 50 years after the last Apollo astronaut set foot on the moon in 1972, NASA is getting ready to send new astronauts back to the moon. They were talking about the first woman to the moon will be going on that mission. And Bill Harwood, who's the CBS News space analyst, was talking about the Artemis program and saying that it is a huge goal, and that the initial NASA estimate of 2024 probably isn't realistic given the technical difficulties that need to be worked out, not to mention the expense, and saying it's more likely that we are going to see the astronauts return to the moon in 2025, maybe 2026. So we'll see what happens there. Everyone's paying attention now to the new James Webb Space Telescope. It's passed its last test of its self-assembling mirror. Rather daring piece of engineering, I might add. And it's going to be launched supposedly this October. And everybody's getting very excited about it. And according to this article I'm looking at here in the Daily Mail, they're saying that this telescope will be sensitive enough that if the exoplanet Proxima b, which is the closest exoplanet to Earth, if it has intelligent life and if they have achieved an Earth-like technology, meaning nighttime illumination, that the James Webb Space Telescope might be able to detect the artificial light and confirm there's an intelligent civilization on that planet. And that would be very, very exciting. Meanwhile, over at Perseverance, the Ingenuity helicopter is getting ready for its 6th flight. This will not be a test. This will be a serious scouting mission. They're going to be flying the Ingenuity faster than before, 9 miles an hour. And they're going to send it out for about 2 minutes to sort of scout the terrain ahead of where Perseverance is going to be going, looking for items of interest that Perseverance could take a closer look at. So that would be a really, really exciting thing to have happen. Meanwhile, NASA is saying that there are probably organic salts on Mars. And they're looking at the data from various rovers. They're looking at data going all the way back to Viking. And they're saying that the Curiosity rover's sample analysis of Mars returned data that hinted at Martian salts. Where those salts came from, nobody wants to speculate about. Well, but there's another article. This one came out of Airspace Magazine. And it's saying that Martian life may be hiding in what they call islands of habitability. In other words, most of Mars is desert, but there may be little pockets near the identified sources of liquid water, brackish though. And there may actually be life there as well. Now, just to bang on an old drum, back in 1976, the Viking landers both detected indications of indigenous Martian life. And at the time, for political reasons, these findings were dismissed. Subsequently, other scientists in other countries have looked at the raw data from the labeled release experiment and concluded that yes, indeed, life was discovered on Mars all the way back in 1976. And it's got to be frustrating for Dr. Gilbert Levin to see NASA hemming and hawing and saying may have been life. This is when the signs are really all over the place. Fossilized bacterial mats. The so-called blueberries, which look like bacterial colonies. And, it's like somebody's really afraid somewhere to actually come on out and say, yeah, there is indigenous life on Mars, because who knows, we might drop all of our weapons of war and say, let's get together and find out who else is out there. Now, SpaceX has a competitor, United Launch Alliance. They're working on a rocket, the Vulcan Centaur, and the first test flight of that rocket has now slipped to 2023. And Elon Musk was saying that they were going to have major delays more than 3 years ago. So SpaceX is still very much in the forefront of the privatization of space, and I do wish them a lot of luck. Here's an interesting article. This came out of physics.org, and it's talking about trying to work out what's called the Hubble constant. And to basically give you the background on it, when Edwin Hubble looked out into the universe and discovered that the farther an object was, the greater the spectrum was shifted towards the red end. And there was an idea of calculating a constant so that you could look at that redshift and from that calculate the distance to the object. Well, it doesn't always really work out that well. And astronomers have been arguing about the exact value of the constant ever since. But there is something to keep in mind, and that is that Edwin Hubble himself never claimed his observations indicated an expanding universe. That was a theory put forward by George Lemaitre, who was an astronomer and a Catholic bishop. And that's where the whole idea of the expanding universe and a Big Bang moment of creation, came from. Over at Facebook, let me back up here a little bit. The other day I was chastising YouTube for banning my rebroadcasts over what they call medical misinformation. And not just me, they're doing it to a lot of people. At the same time, though, you could go to YouTube and type in things like hot oil naked massage and get a really good helping of pornography. And this seems to be a double standard happening all over social media, and they're trying to sort of backtrack and pull back from that. Facebook is now blaming a technical issue for failing to block millions of child abuse images and videos from appearing on its website over the past 6 months. Now, of course, hits on the page mean increased ad revenues, and apparently that is really a big message there. Okay, and let me just do this. All right, I'm multitasking here. Claire's on her way over to our grandnieces to make sugar cookies to give out to graduating high schoolers at the church. So she was just letting me know that she's on her way. Getting into the world of computers, there is a banking Trojan called Bizarro. It seems to have originated in Brazil, but it is now widening its scope, targeting other regions. And it's already been found in Europe, parts of South America, and its purpose is very simple: to steal money from any infected victims, whether it's cryptocurrency or more traditional currency from the bank account. So again, you got to keep the computer security up there. And again, I consider this a major, major problem and threat to our nation's economy. And it doesn't seem like our government really takes this problem seriously at all. They're too busy, looking for conservatives in the military, I guess. Story coming on out of Ars Technica talking about how there are vulnerabilities in Wi-Fi devices that allow hackers to bypass your firewalls. And one of the things that makes Wi-Fi work is its ability to break big chunks of data into smaller chunks and vice versa, depending on the needs of the network. So researchers have found out there's a dozen vulnerabilities in the Wi-Fi specification and in the implementation that allows hackers to insert their own data packets into these broken up chunks of data and get onto networks even if they're protected by WPA-based encryption. Another story, this one coming out of Tech Republic, saying that ransomware attackers are now using triple extortion tactics. We were talking about the Colonial Pipeline, but the ransomware attackers are not only demanding ransom from organizations, they're threatening their customers, users, and other third parties. Again, this is a major, major problem. We saw the damage that was caused to our economy from the Colonial Pipeline shutdown. We're hearing now that one of the insurance companies for Colonial paid $40 million of ransom to try and get the problem resolved. And but the more you pay the extortionists, the more they're going to come back and extort. Meanwhile, story coming on out of ZDNet, 3 healthcare institutions in Canada, Ireland, and New Zealand are in the midst of security incidents this week, facing intrusions and ransomware attacks. Ireland's Department of Health was attacked twice in the last week, eventually shutting down the entire system following a ransomware attack last Thursday. The same group also hit the health service executive with a ransomware attack. This is a problem. We're talking about people's lives. You know, if the hospital IT system is down, doctors can't pull up the patient's files. They may inadvertently give them medication they're allergic to. This is a lethal problem. Okay, the Federal Trade Commission and officials from 6 states are suing Frontier Communications, claiming that the telecom provider knowingly sold internet speeds it knew it could not deliver, and was charging customers for higher speeds than it provided or was even capable of providing. So, good for the FTC on that one here. Story coming on out from ZDNet talking about Google Chrome. Now, when Google Chrome first came on out, it was the low-footprint alternative to some of the earlier browsers that were out there. But over time, Chrome has itself become bloatware. It is a huge drain on CPU, certainly on memory, certainly on the battery. And the author of this article is basically saying that when they're on the road, they've had to get rid of Chrome just to keep their battery life reasonable. Okay, we got to take a break for commercials. We're going to go ahead and open up the phone lines, 512-248-8252, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to our show here, and the phone lines are open. Area code 512-248-8252. Speaking of browsers, Microsoft is retiring Internet Explorer almost 26 years after it first launched. It has been superseded by the Edge browser, and they're still supporting Internet Explorer 11, but as of June 2022, the browser will be officially retired. Okay. Let's see. Oh, the phone lines are filling up here. Let's go to HB in FEMA Region 4. And what is on your mind today?
Hey, Mike. I used to farm back in Missouri. I live down in East Tennessee now, but we go back to see relatives, going through Indiana, Illinois, and all the wheat fields back there. And I was always, I wondered, this was like 10 years ago, why when wheat's green and, about a month away from being harvested, there's lines through the field. They're running those big high clearance sprayers through there.
Yeah.
And when the wheat's green, they're spraying glyphosate on it to kill it out so they can harvest it before the heads get too heavy and fall over. So all the wheat that's not organic is getting sprayed again, the final coat with glyphosate right before they harvest it.
Well, the reason they do that with glyphosate, and they also do it at the produce counter in your supermarket, it acts as a preservative so that the wheat, continues to look and seem like it's freshly harvested even after that long trip on the truck to the warehouse distribution facility and from there to your local market.
Okay, well, I was just talking about wheat. What about the organic wheat? Is it contaminated too?
Well, according to this article, there's been so much glyphosate spread all over the farming country that it has inevitably contaminated even those fields that did not want it.
Right, and I guess it stays in the soil for so many years, or
yeah, it doesn't degrade very quickly.
All right, I'll let you go.
All right, thanks a lot. We're going to go to Bruce in Texas. Hello, Bruce. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike.
Hey, how you doing?
Okay. Hey, I'm former military, and what I've been hearing about this wokeness going on with this diversity hire Secretary of Defense, it's just depressing Peter.
Yes.
I have a proud service, and I just cannot. I have to look away. They're going to ruin it. When I went back in, during the first Gulf War, I had to go back through infantry school because I was out for a while. So I went in where there was already a basic training unit that was just finishing up and starting their infantry training. And out of my company, there were only 2 black guys, and the 2 black guys are both decorated veterans of past wars like Panama. So
okay, Bruce, I got to put you on hold. Bruce, I got to put you on hold. Do not hang up. I'm going to come right back to you after station identification. Back to our show, hour number 2. The phone lines are open. Area code 512-248-8252, and we're talking with Bruce in Texas, who was talking about his experience in the military with diversity.
Yeah, now the guys I served with were, good people, and there was no racial tension at all in any of the units that I served in. So this is all being ginned up, and it's tragic. It's going to destroy our fighting capability.
Yes.
And so I want to leave it at that, but that's not why I called. With the second assault there on the Alaska Moss, it's clearly obvious that Benjamin Netanyahu and the Likudniks are trying to gin up yet more conflict. They're trying to provoke Hamas into launching rockets. I invite Layla to call in and tell me, without a lot of kvetching and hysterics, why the Israelis are the good guys in this conflict.
Okay.
And that's about all I got.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the phone call, and we're going to go to Jim in New York. Hello, Jim. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, hi, Mike. I encourage your audience to go to milesmathis.com, April 19th. He has an article titled Fake Race Wars. He shows how all the fake race incidents like George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, they're all fake and they're staged. Almost everything you see, these incidents are fake.
I agree.
And one of the reasons is because the Democrats, they have nothing to talk about but race.
Yes.
They're with the Republicans on tax cuts for billionaires, screwing the middle and working class, wars for Israel, unlimited immigration and cheap labor. All these big issues, the Republicans and the Democrats, they agree on.
Mm-hmm.
So what else are they going to talk about? They're going to talk about fake racial incidents and racism. That's also a way to demonize middle and working class people.
Yes.
And the Republican establishment, as I said Monday, they're indifferent to issues that matter to working people. They really don't care about immigration, living wages, bringing jobs back that were outsourced.
Mm-hmm.
They could care less. And again, both the Democrat and the Republican establishment, they worship money. They both work for the billionaires. And that's why the Democrats, they have nothing to talk about. And they're in agreement with the Republican establishment.
Mm-hmm.
All they talk about in the media, the fake liberal media like NBC and CNN, they just talk about, quote, racism and these fake incidents. And if, again, go to Miles Mathis, Fake Race Wars, I encourage everyone to read it. It's a real eye-opener. And, both parties are controlled by the billionaire elite. Get them talking about race. Divide and conquer.
Mm-hmm.
It's the oldest trick in the book. Works every time. And, I encourage you, turn off your TV news. Turn it off, including Fox. Did everyone forget already how Fox was instrumental in stealing the election? Did they forget that already? And it was only 4 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
So Fox is not your friend, but they're controlled opposition, and they're lying to you. Tucker is okay, but when the time comes and Tucker's called upon, maybe there'll be a big incident, maybe there'll be a war, Tucker will do what he's told. And I find that with a lot of these so-called conservatives, they'll give you a 90% truth, but then they'll hold you back for like a big incident, and then they'll toe the line. And they've been talking about this crime against Asians.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you're not allowed to talk about it, but 90% of it's done by black males.
True.
And, that's a sad thing. We're not allowed to be honest about racial problems. And just in the Post today, there was an article, a black man murdering a white woman. But you can't talk about that, otherwise it would be racist. And, these incidents, and, Ashley Anderson and her father was murdered in South Carolina by a black over a fender bender, totally blacked out by the media. Instead, they talk about George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, another hoax, in my opinion. And, that's why I like Tom in Florida, because he's honest.
Yes.
He talks about these things. He's not like a couple of you callers who I won't mention.
Okay.
Or phony. Even Jesse Jackson admitted 30 years ago that he said he was walking down the street and he was relieved that they were white people walking behind him because, people, they're afraid of blacks. And don't blame the victims. Blame the black criminals.
Yes.
For doing this.
Well, blame all the criminals.
Yes, but let's face it, over 50% of your murders and rapes are committed by blacks, and they're 13% of the population. So, that's why Tom is good. He's honest. He's honest. He's your most honest caller, and he talks about these things. And I find a lot of fun. And, the Republican Party, they're just neocons and what they call cucks-servatives. Have you heard that term?
Yeah, I have heard that term.
And, they're afraid to talk about these issues. And isn't it funny, another issue, the transgenders?
Yeah.
Right? Total silence by the Republicans. And guess who's speaking out against it? Tulsi Gabbard, a Democrat.
Yep.
The Republican establishment, they're useless. They're cowards. They're neocons and cucks. And, again, there's maybe a dozen who are worth voting for. But sadly, they represent the billionaire class just as the Democrats do. And it's very sad. And one more thing.
Yes.
Encourage everyone to listen to Layla on Sunday night, 10 o'clock Eastern Time on RBN. And she's a wealth of knowledge, and that's all I want to say. Thank you very much, Mike, and have a great weekend.
All right. Well, thank you very much here, and we're going to switch over to Laura in Michigan. Hello, Laura. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. Well, first of all, I hope they do purge the military of all the patriotic conservatives. Let's let the liberals fight the wars for Israel. That's fine with me. Let the loony left do it. They'll be running like mad, and whoever they're fighting, they can hit them in the back. So anyway, also the other thing I wanted to tell everybody, if anybody's interested, Wednesday, Wayne Allen Root, his show is called The War Room. I don't know what time, but I know it's Wednesday. He secured a half-hour interview with Donald Trump about the elections.
Wow.
It should be interesting. Yep. So it's Wayne Allen Root. He's on GCN. But you have to go on the computer and find out what time this thing's going to be. The half-hour interview is pretty long. So it should be interesting.
Yeah.
Also, we do have white privilege. I'll tell you what, we've been privileged, we white people. We've been very privileged to pay taxes all these years.
Yeah.
So I'm ready for equity. Let's let the blacks and the browns, let's let them pay all the taxes. See how that goes. I'm willing to give up my white privilege.
Okay. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. That's been our privilege. Also, if Layla was on the phone, I'd like to know, what is Layla's DNA? Is she an Arab? Is she a Jew? Or what is she?
I think she's going to go into that in a little more depth on her Sunday show. That's my understanding.
Okay, I'm really interested in what her DNA is.
Well, I know she had one of those, DNA, those at-home DNA tests done. So she's got a pretty good idea of, what's in that woodpile.
Yeah, I had one of those done too. Very interesting. What comes out? Pretty much, you know what you are.
Mm-hmm.
You know where your grandparents were from. So you pretty much coincides with what you knew. There's like one surprise. I had 2% Scandinavian, which means one of my relatives must have doodled around with a Viking or something. But everything else seemed to coincide with what I knew.
Okay.
So, okay, that's it. But I do want to let's let the loony left fight the wars. And let's let the blacks and the browns pay the taxes. Let's see how far that goes. I'm not give up my privilege.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We're going to switch to Tom in Florida. Hello, Tom. Your ears must be burning. What's on your mind today?
Yeah, Michael. Good day, and have a great weekend. You can clear it now, Mike.
Yes.
To Jim, another great call by Jim. You know, to me, Jim's one of the best callers without question, and shout out to him. And I also want to shout out to Marco. The other day, he had a very passionate, very powerful speech. What he said. He's a young-blooded guy. If we need some guy, maybe some guy on RBN, it maybe a guy like Marco. He's a young-blooded guy.
Yeah.
You know, he's full of vigor, and he's hitting right to the point, man. He was right to the point the other day. It was a wonderful call he made. So, but here's and the last call was good too. She's absolutely right. Well, you know, white privilege. Hey, just all of us white guys and women start paying taxes. See how long this country lasts. How long Zionists and BLM and Antifa will last. It'd be total chaos. But here, Mike, here's what I want to get to now.
Okay.
Here's what I want to get talking about. Last night, okay, on Sean Hannity, he had on a senator of the United States government named Marsha Blackburn
Yes.
from Tennessee.
Yes.
Marsha Blackburn saying that this bumbling buffoon, this dirty white Irish pig, Biden is bringing these illegals in these cities at midnight up to 5 o'clock in the morning under cover, under darkness. They're bringing all these illegals, and they're not only Mexicans, they're not Central Americans, they're Iranians, they're Africans, they're everybody. They're bringing them in all these cities. Why would they bring more voters into a red state, Mike? Marsha Blackburn she was ready to steam up, man. I can tell you. She's ready to blow, like Ron Johnson, another great senator. These senators are getting fed up with this nonsense, Mike. These criminal, like Camilla, that commie Harris, and this bumbling buffoon we got, and this crazy, insane, adulterous wife want to flood our cities, especially the red states, with all these illegal immigrants, Mike.
Yes.
It's going to turn these elections forever.
Yes.
We got to stop this now. And it says white men and women should go out by the million and say enough is enough until you take care of our ass. We get the better health care. We get everything that we deserve. Like the last caller you had talking about taxes. My family's been paying taxes since they started taxes in this country. And I do have Scandinavian blood in me. And I got Irish blood. I got Scottish blood. Okay, I'm a Northern European, and I'm very proud of my people. I'm very proud of George Washington and the Founding Fathers. I'm very proud of them. I have nothing bad to say about even the wonderful great generals of the South. They were wonderful men in my book.
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing to be ashamed about those men. Okay? Robert E. Lee was a super gentleman. He could have been a real jerk like Nathan Bedford Forrest, and that Civil War would have never ended, Mike, and you know that.
Yes.
That war would have went on another 20 years if Nathan Bedford Forrest would have took command of the Southern armies. Now, Mike, here's what I want to get to now. Let's look at this immigration invasion, Mike.
Yeah.
It's absolutely horrendous what they're doing to these young kids, these little kids, no parents, but they're just bringing them in here for the main purpose of what you always been saying, Mike, votes.
Yes.
This is all about the swing, the election. These
And they're
little
not
kids
supposed to vote in the first place.
Exactly. They should be going to Argentina, Colombia, Uruguay, Paraguay, where they speak Spanish, and they got all these Latin countries. And they're not Latin, by the way, Mike. Let's get that correct. These people are Hispanic.
Yes.
They're not Latin. I'm tired of hearing this crap about all these Latinos. They're not Latinos. They have nothing to do with Latino. A Latino's a Roman. He's an Italian. They have to do with the Italians. The Latino people are not only from Rome, Mike. Am I lying?
Well, I don't think it's quite clear-cut, but you're absolutely right. Why did Latin America become known as Latin America when hardly anybody down there outside of the priesthood speaks Latin?
Thank you. Exactly. They're Hispanic. They're from Hispaniola. Whatever. They're Hispanic. Okay, Mike? Look, I can tell you right now, I've been to Cuba. When the first Castilians went into Cuba, they were red hair and blue eyes or light skin. The men went to Cuba. In Puerto Rico, by the way, too.
Mm-hmm.
And all those through the Windward Passage. The Windward Passage, all those Castilians, St. Augustine, Florida, those people were white as white could be. Now, Mike, here's another thing that's really perplexing. And I'll go back to immigration in a minute. You got this Ignacio Ocasio-Cortez.
Yeah.
He's got whiter skin than me, most of us, claiming that white people are this and that, white people are racist. This broad has got whiter skin than most people. She got those dark eyes, but she's white as white can get. She was a bartender who actually hates her skin color. Okay, she got her black hair. She bleaches her hair. They have pictures of her when she had red hair. Did you ever see the picture of Ocasio-Cortez with her red hair, Mike?
No, I never did. That would be interesting.
Yeah, they have pictures. Yes, and she was a barmaid. She also has a white boyfriend, Mike. I don't know if you're familiar. I believe he's Irish. I'm not 100%. I know he's a white man. She's with a white guy. So I guess this guy every day's got to hear how bad he is as a white man from her. Ocasio-Cortez. And when you call her, if you call her a Washington number, it's first thing you want it in Spanish or do you want it in English? I mean, the Germans weren't able to get away with this. The Germans are the biggest majority in the United States, Mike.
Yes.
They cannot speak German all over these
they're very present in this part of Indiana, that's for sure. A lot of good sausages around here.
Absolutely, and they got all that. They got a lot of Polish up there, I'm sure too. Kielbasa and all. They got all. Look, I'm from up north myself, Mike. I was born up north. But I can tell you, look at my city. It's destroyed. The city's destroyed. It's been destroyed for 60, 70 years. You know what city I'm talking about? Bears. I mean, Mike, what's happening here is, hold on. What's happening here is utter insanity. What the white women and white men who are in blue states would want a guy like Biden to flood their states with more illegals so they can't get good health care?
Yeah, but it's becoming more and more obvious that these people didn't vote for Biden in the first place.
Correct. I totally agree with that. Absolutely, Mike. But we got to face reality. Like Marco said, we have to face reality, Mike. And Miles said it too a few times. We got to face reality. This country is a teeter-totter away from this all-out utter disaster. How can this bumbling buffoon Biden tell the Russians they can build a pipeline in Europe, but we can't have the Keystone XL pipeline built, Mike?
Yeah, I made that point earlier in the week. Yeah.
Exactly. What sickness these Democrats have. They're so demonic. They're so evilly spirited. It's mind-boggling to me how they want to crush this wonderful nation that we have, Mike.
Tom, I'm sorry. I got to cut you off. We got to take a break for commercials. I let you have a lot of airtime, and we're going to take a break for commercials. We got more callers waiting on the line. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our show here. We do have some phone lines open right now, 512-248-8252, and we're going to go to James in Charlotte. Hello, James. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, hi, Mike. You were talking about these videos that show the Capitol Police letting some of the demonstrators in, opening up the barricades and so forth.
Yeah, they invited them in. I mean, they were beckoning them in. That's what the videos are showing.
Well, I was watching some of those videos just as recently as 2 days ago. Now I can't find any of them on YouTube. What I find is this: the following content has been identified by the YouTube community as inappropriate or offensive to some audiences.
Yeah.
So they've wiped most of them, if not all of them. I haven't been able to find any of them I was watching. Hopefully, I'm sure that they're on Brighteon and some of the other.
Yeah, there are some video services out there, that have not yet fallen under the control of the government censors. I'm sure they're working to correct that right now. But every time a new video provider becomes compromised, 3 more spring up to take its place.
Yeah. One thing I saw on a couple of the videos, not all of the police officers were wearing helmets or masks, and there were a few that were quite recognizable. I mean, you would be able to tell who they were on the videos, and I'm hoping that they don't have a stroke like Officer Sicknick did.
Yeah.
And whatever it was. Or get suicided, but they definitely are identifiable on some of the videos. So I'm hoping that that these videos get to some congressmen who have the guts to bring it up and demand some hearings on this.
Well, they're going to have the hearings. The Democrats pushed through this 9/11 style commission to study what happened on January 6th, and they're trying to exclude Republicans from it now. That's how scared they are, because if it's a truly bipartisan hearing, then those videos showing the police inviting the protesters in, those are going to get shown. And the whole facade, the whole hoax is falling apart on them.
Well, the Republicans ought to be just as eager for it as the Democrats, but I don't know. They're so gutless or incompetent that they're determined to try and block it.
We don't know about those 35 who went along with it, but on the other hand, they may realize that the Democrats are going to self-destruct on this. They're going to hoist on their own petard, and they're probably saying, yeah, let's give them enough rope to hang themselves with.
Yeah. Well, here's hoping that that happens.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the phone call, and we're going to go to Jason in Colorado. Hello, Jason. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, Mike, I'm a farmer in eastern Colorado. We grow grain, corn, wheat.
Good.
We run cattle in that, and people were mentioning Roundup, glyphosate as being a problem, and it's really quite beyond that now. Most of the weeds here where I live they're now all resistant to glyphosate. It will not kill them.
Yes.
So, the big thing is paraquat. That the old standby, the one you don't want to get one on you, when you're filling the tank like this. That's,
yes.
That's the new standby again. It was the old standby, and then it proved to be so toxic that no one wanted to use it. It caused Parkinson's disease.
I remember when they were spraying it on marijuana plants to try and discourage, the dopers, and that blew up in their face when it was discovered how sick it was making everybody.
Right. Well, it's highly toxic. It's a neurotoxin. It's in that neurotoxin class of herbicides that it's really quite profound. It's, very similar in effect, not in chemical composition, but in effect to Agent Orange as far as how it manifests itself on the human or a mammalian body,
Yeah.
So, everybody's worried about eating Roundup. That Roundup, it's becoming a thing of the past, So it just bigger and better and more money.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. And then with government funding and farming, it's not really, it's not a free market. It's all regulated.
Yes.
Just like the gold and silver market, in that before Cloward Pippin, there were you had to have physical grain, to buy a contract, and it had to be certified by the government or another certification agency before you could ever buy a contract to put on the futures market.
Yes.
But with Cloward Pippin, where they let the banks bat money around, and paper gold, paper silver, just everybody gets it, right? We don't have to paint a picture, but it's the supply and the demand don't hit the rubber on the road.
All right. Well, listen, Jason, I got to let you go. We got to take another break for commercials. We've got callers waiting on the line, 512-248-8252. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our show here, and we've got phone lines open right now, area code 512-248-8252, and we're going to go to James in Vancouver. Hello, James. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yes, good afternoon. You commented or reported yesterday that Lavrov met Blinken in Reykjavik. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so the subtlety there is that the Russians don't even want Blinken on the property. He's not allowed to come to Russia.
Well, no, they're having side meetings, coincident with the Atlantic Council, which meets in Reykjavik.
I thought this was to defuse the problems that are facing Israel and the Palestinians. I assumed that was the case.
No. The reason for Reykjavik is the Atlantic Council is meeting, and Blinken and Lavrov are having their discussions off to one side regarding the situation with Russia.
Okay, but still, it's. I don't think it's a business as usual thing. My impression is that the second thing you mentioned was that the Russians advised all their people to get out of Gaza.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Well, they're making preparations for evacuation flights.
Yeah, well, so that would mean that the Russians know that this thing is going to continue.
Well, we had the story, of the evacuation before the declared ceasefire, and now that the ceasefire has obviously collapsed, I expect Russia will simply move forward.
Right, but nevertheless, in the midst of this so-called ceasefire that was yesterday, I believe, Russia says, no, you're all coming back, or make plans to come back. So somebody knows what's really going to happen there, I think. This is my point.
I see your point, but again, the timeline is against you. Russia made the announcement about bringing their nationals back from Gaza before the ceasefire was announced.
Okay, fair enough. But nevertheless, there's the moral high ground, and who has the moral high ground right now in that conflict? That would be the last point I'd like to make, is that question should be asked, and I don't think it's the United States.
No, it's not the United States, and it's not Israel. In fact, world opinion very much came down on the side of the Palestinians on this one.
By the way, one more thing. I have no problem with Layla offering the olive branch, what she's trying to do. I would not criticize her for that because, I don't think she has to prove to anybody that she's pro-Palestinian or anything like that. I think she's suffered enough, and I think people should leave her alone and not bother with that ridiculous nonsense.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but, with her taking on a radio show now, she has, in effect, become a public personality. It's something that she's already used to from her long years of experience in the media. And it's a hot kitchen, and, occasionally she's going to get splattered, as are we all.
Anyway, she's got my sympathy. This is the point.
Okay, well, you might call in on Sunday and tell her that.
I'm going to do that. I am going to do that, and I want to let you know that half of my family are Khazars, okay? The Hungarian side, we're all what do you call it, converso. So this conflict, you don't just get on one side, I'm a this and I'm a that, and, not in an international conflict. It's easy to get into that, right? Yeah, but that's not how these things work. You've got to look at the chessboard in terms of the realities, see? And that's why I think Russia has got the chessboard right now, and the United States has got a problem. But anyway, we'll leave it at that.
Well, I agree with you. The United States has a problem. We are an empire in decline, and we have a government that is certainly not being graceful about that decline, and they seem to be striking out at everybody, including the American people, in their desire to cling to power.
Well, and America, as well as Canada and a lot of other nations, I said it before, have lost their leaders. These leaders have no guts and no brains, okay? And the leader now, too, is Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping. That's my analysis. It doesn't matter what my blood is and what my DNA is. The facts are the facts. But okay, thanks for taking my call, and have a good weekend. Best to Claire.
All right, I certainly will do that. And we're going to go to Lauren in Ohio. Hello, Lauren. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, I want to agree with exactly what he said. It's not our heritage, it's our behavior. When you bomb places, blow up kids, blow up the media, don't let people talk, these are bad things. I don't care what color you are.
Yes.
So, with regard to the COVID, that's not an accident, and we can't let them get off the hook with that. If we let them take this story and tune it to that nonsense, we deserve getting our butts kicked. They did it. We've got all the research to show where they paid for it. Peter Daszak admitted he created it in 2017. You have all the money tracking from the, what was the name of the foundation? The EcoHealth Alliance, which was funded by the NIH. You know, Fauci up there lying, the NIH didn't fund it. It's like when Clinton said, well, it depends on what the meaning of is. I mean, you know, I did not have sex with that woman. You know, that cigar and all that. Well, that's not defined as sex. I mean, you know, it's game playing. And the thing is, us accepting their baloney game playing, that's the problem. We keep talking about what they're doing, and they're doing this stuff. Nobody's doing anything to you. That lady who said she wanted to get out from under that burden, get out from under it. Break the contract. You don't even have to break the contract. I haven't paid taxes since 1994, and I didn't file or fill out anything. I haven't put my children in school, 30 down to 13. I'm not asking people permission about how I live my life. This is my life. I'll make the decisions. And my point is, people can make the decisions. Stop giving them money to hurt you with. You keep paying them and doing things, you know, well, maybe it was a mistake, and, you know, that's their cover. Well, you know, it might have escaped from the lab. No, it didn't. It was released on you because if you read the SPARS 2025 to 2028 document, it's a 3-year drill. It's all laid out right there, including the power outages, including the, is the mask good? Is the mask bad? We're not sure. That equivocation, that we're just so unstable, it's to stimulate learned helplessness in the population. So everybody just lays down and just takes it. And people that are smart, like you and Claire, you took that shot. And we were begging you, don't do it, don't do it. And you're like, well, but we got to see our mom. Well, and this is my point. They did this to your mindset so that even the smartest and the strongest amongst us,
yes,
I mean, that's where I would count you, okay? But we just, you know, since it's not our specialty, we're trusting the experts. And if we would just remember, the experts were the ones that put us here. The expert bankers bankrupted the country and stole all our gold. The expert economist people and union people moved all your jobs to China, paid lock, stock, and barrel, and gave them insurance if there was any loss. Your Bill Gates and Ted Turner own all the farmland with their genetically modified seed that can tolerate aluminum. And now they want to put needles in your arms, and people are like, well, should I or should... That's our problem. Our problem is us. So I'm going to tell people again, don't pay taxes. You don't owe. I mean, the bottom line is, are you a child of the living God? Did a man make you? No. So how can you possibly be responsible to give the fruit of your labor, your energy, over to another man because he says so? Because he's got a gang that'll burn your place down if you don't do what he wants? Well, that's where we're going if we don't cut this off. So my suggestion, and for people who want to, well, I'm afraid not to pay taxes, look, I totally get that. Fine, put them in escrow, okay? Pay into an escrow account. Say, look, you are throwing away our money. You are spending trillions of dollars to bring foreigners into our country, ship them all over, and give them money, thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. We're not going to pay for this anymore. We need people to take action. Get your children out of those schools. What are they doing there? And don't talk about, well, you know, my kid's an honor student. Well, they need to socialize, really, with all the druggies and all the sodomites and all the trannies and all the, because, I mean, I'm not against anybody, but there's right constructive behavior that builds more. Yes. And there's destructive behavior that, hey, you may be having fun like Pinocchio. You're having fun, but those ears and tail are growing, and as soon as you shift to donkey baby, you're done. So my point is we still have time to pull this back. Stop giving them money. Stop obeying illegitimate authority. These people are not your boss.
No, they're not, especially after that last election.
That's right, and we need to hold them to account and put Donald Trump back. If I robbed a bank and told you it's 6 months gone by, I'm going to keep this money, and you don't look in the past, you know. We have to look forward. Would you put up with that? No. Donald Trump won that election. It's what the people want. Why are we listening to the Chinese and the bankers and 6,000 people that think they're better than you, calling themselves superclass? And I'm saying stop giving them money, stop doing what they say, start passing the word, RBN, stickers, T-shirts, write it on the board. When you go into the grocery store, they've got those stick-up boards. Everybody, hit those stores. Republic Broadcasting, put the times for your favorite shows, whatever. But this is the action that we have to take. We cannot keep whining and complaining and talking about, well, the black this and the white women and the blah, blah, blah. Dude, you know, we have to stop paying attention to what they want us to pay attention to and pay attention to what matters. And foundationally, our Constitution's being undermined. We're not having it. Not for communism, not for any of it. Stop giving them money. You don't owe them money. The fruit of your labor belongs to you. Stop giving them access to your children, boycott big business, and shop with RBN. Anything you can buy with them, buy it. So I appreciate your time. I'll get off. It's maddening because, Mike, you're brilliant, and I've been listening to you for years. But you took that shot, and I know you're looking back at it now saying, oh, geez, what have I done?
Yeah, I'm definitely having a shot remorse here. But again, at the time Claire and I got the Johnson & Johnson shot, there had been no reports of counterindications. That, of course, has since changed.
True. But here's the thing. In my field, because I'm a naturopathic doctor, and my daughter just wrote a 50-page thesis on COVID for her doctorate.
Yes.
And that she finished that in like January or February. And I was reporting this stuff to you guys in January, February, March of last year. And I couldn't have known it except I've seen the studies, or I've been in this field, so I hear about these things, and I know the medical research on it. My point is, they, in the SPARS document, have MCM all through their medical countervention measures. It's not allowing the top doctors in the world, the head of Pfizer, Michael Yeadon, the head of, they don't let the doctors talk so that you can't get the information, so that they could get the needle in and say, oh, and now they're going to back up on it and say, oh, well, we think it was released from Wuhan, and, well, we didn't know it would do this. Yes, they did. They've done these before, over and over, and it always kills everybody because you can't make your body allergic to the common cold. You just can't do these things. And so my point is, there's a lot of fixing that we can do, and I'm going to tell you what, detox, super antioxidants, all kind of, you've got Len Horowitz on every Thursday, second hour of John Moore's show. Great information. Be encouraged. Don't be afraid, because fear brings down your immune system. We can fix this, but we've got to start just going straight down to it, stop bickering amongst ourselves and who we like and who we don't like. Let's all hate the people trying to undermine our Constitution and who've committed treason against us and stolen an election. Let's hold their feet to the fire. Let's call our congressmen, our senators. Our poll is how many people showed up to see him speak. In 2 days, one guy's pulling 50,000. In 2 weeks, one guy can't get 10. Now, we're not having it. And like I said, put your foot down. Keep that money in your pocket. Pay it into an escrow account if you're afraid. If you're not, hisadvocates.org. Cancel the contracts. You get passports. They're issued by the State Department. This is all real. It's not a scam. But the way that the globalists look at this, if you're dumb enough for me to get you, you deserve to be got. They feed on us, and they feed on the ignorant, and that's what the Bible says. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. So I love what you do. I love all the information that you get. And other thing is, people put $10 a month on some credit card or on something to RBN just every month. That's what I did. It's painless. I mean, I don't have a lot of money, so it's a matter of if you're going to spend $5 for Starbucks coffee or go to the movie or out to dinner, come on, man, this is all month, 30 days of truth and power to you, so you can run your life, so you can be free, so you can be fearless through all this. I've never put on a mask. I've never been afraid of anything here because I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm doing. And so do a lot of these doctors. Even if you just go the traditional way, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, you could use quinine water, gin and tonics. And they just kept that from the people. And vitamin C. I'm in Ohio. You're going to give a lottery to get people to do something like this?
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, with $1 million, do you think they could have supplied enough vitamin C and vitamin D and zinc for the population of Ohio?
Yeah, but there's no profit in curing people. The big money is in constant ongoing treatment. The medical industrial complex needs all Americans to be chronically ill with something, or they would collapse economically. And again, I want to go back to that HBO documentary, The Crime of the Century. It is repeating. And if you're on HBO Plus, you can stream it, to your computer or your TV set. Anybody who thinks that the medical industrial complex is interested in your good health, this will be an eye-opener.
Well, the trick is it's not just the medical industrial complex that's doing this. Check this out. The U.S. Public Health Service also closely followed the progress of the biological warfare and research development of HIV from the very start of the program. The Centers for Disease Control and the National Institutes of Health in the United States were working with the military in weaponizing these diseases. the Special Virus Cancer Program created by the CIA and the National Institutes of Health to develop a deadly pathogen to which humanity had no natural immunity, that's AIDS, was disguised as a war on cancer, but was actually part of MK Naomi. So what I'm trying to get people to understand is the people that you're looking to, the World Health Organization, all these people you're going to, you're wearing your mask, your dirty face diaper, breathing your carbon dioxide, decreasing your children's oxygen, making them stupid. It's like vaccinating them, then they're retarded, and everybody's like, oh, I couldn't have known. Yeah, you could have. Yeah, all you have to do is look around. All you have to do is decide to take an interest in your own life, in your own self-preservation, and going to work every day and coming home and putting your feet up and complaining about how hard you got it ain't going to cut it at this point. So let me just give this paper name, and then I'll shut up and get off. Mycoplasma, the Linking Pathogen in Neurosystemic Diseases by Professor Donald Scott. And when you look at this little 11-page article, it's going to show you how they made mycoplasma. That's what AIDS is. That's why so many people are suffering from crippling pain, muscle pain. It's from brucellosis. That's the cow arthritis combined with the Wiesner virus. Which
yeah,
is
well, I remember 5 years ago when I was in the hospital, that was with mycoplasma pneumonia. Anyway, listen, Lauren, I got to let you go. We got to take another break for commercials.
Thank you for everything you're doing.
All right, have a good weekend, and we'll be back after these few words. And welcome back to our show here, last segment of the program today, and we're going to go to Mitchell in Memphis. Hello, Mitchell. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, my God, Mike Rivero, what's up?
Well, you tell me.
I'll try. Listen, I like Lauren from Ohio, but I kind of went after her over this before about the property tax. But first of all, I want to say, is Mike, you and Claire, there's a term that I've made up. I call it governmental circumstantial duress. And that's what a lot of people are under. And they're having to get this vaccination. And everybody's circumstance is different. I haven't been forced. I know it's not a legal mandate, but it's sort of indirectly. A lot of people are having to get it when they don't want to.
Yes.
Because of circumstance. So I'll call it governmental circumstantial duress. Also about Lauren, she pays property taxes. Now she comes back now and she's saying, well, if you don't owe taxes, don't pay. But she homeschools her children.
Yes.
I think she lives in Ohio, and in Ohio, the property tax is probably, of the amount of the property tax that goes to the school to fund the schools is probably, I don't know, I'm here in Tennessee, probably 50 to 70% or something. So, Lauren, if you homeschool your children, why are you paying the property tax? Now, you said that we could pay $15 to the Interior Department or something, and you said you can get out of it. Well, I heard a story a while back. There's a man in New Jersey that was paying, he had to leave the state of New Jersey to get out of paying, I think he's paying $14,000 a year in property taxes. So how do we get out from under the property tax issue? Lauren, I really want to know, because if we can't hold a allodial title and homestead and have your property and your land and not pay rent on it, are you really free? I would like her to go into that a little more. But the last thing I want to say, Mike, Layla's always talking about we must not be violent, we must not do this, we must not use force, we mustn't do that. I want to read something real quick, and I've got here the 4 options humans have when in a rock and a hard place situation. So we, the people in this country, we're in that rock and a hard place situation with the tyrannical government. There's 4 options. There may be 5. You can help me out, but I've got 4. Number 1, you can attempt to effect change through the proper channels.
Yes.
Number 2, you can use escapism. You can escape it. Geographically, you can run. You can take drugs. Alter your mind. You can escape through suicide, and you can escape through hope and prayer. Number 3, you can use force and physical resistance. And number 4 would be acquiescence. You can submit to it. Now, what I want to ask Layla, these are the 4 options. The human species. These are your options. Which one do you choose, Layla? Because you agree.
Well, to judge by her comments on Gaza, I would see it would be that last one, acquiescence, which I don't agree with. I mean, that's like saying that, a little tiny woman who's being attacked by a really big, muscular man ought to just lie there and take it because she has no hope of successfully fighting him off. Right. I think she should be there trying to scratch his eyes out at the very least.
I agree with you. And so, Mike, that's my question to Layla. If you could address this, those are the options. You can try to effect change through the proper channels. If you know, see, the problem we have is we don't have the proper channels. they're being removed. You just saw
Yeah,
one of the
they are. You know, the independent media was one of the last ones we had, and it's being attacked now. Anyway, listen, Mitchell, I'm going to have to let you go now. We're at the end of the program. My apology to those callers waiting online who did not get on the air. Have yourself a really good weekend. Stay tuned for John Stadmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Spread the word of Republic Broadcasting. Spread the word of whatreallyhappened.com. Please donate. Have a really good, safe weekend. We'll be back on Monday. Aloha, America.